Race to the White House. NBC News has confirmed that 4 more House Democrats have called on President Biden to drop out of the race, bringing the total now to 9. This happened just a few hours ago as House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries led a meeting with top congressional Democrats. Joining me now from Capitol Hill is NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin. Julie, thanks for joining me. What more do we know about this meeting and the 4 lawmakers who just joined in to ask for President Biden to step aside?
Yeah, hey, Katie. Well, look, this was a meeting that lasted nearly 2 hours. It began at 2 this afternoon. It was a virtual meeting because, again, lawmakers have not been back to the Capitol since that debate. They're returning actually in person tomorrow, so I assume we will see even more of them joining in person, finally huddling and reconvening with their colleagues to get on the same page or not about what President Biden's future should be as the leader of their party. You see all of those names and faces on your screen. The 4 additions are very significant because, remember, this call that House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries convened actually had the top Democrats on the key committees join the call. So you're talking about guys like Jerry Nadler. This is somebody who is the top Democrat on the Judiciary Committee. You're also seeing Adam Smith, the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee. You're seeing others as well following suit. And we're told, according to our sources, that on the call, those 4 expressed a lot of concern, specifically with Biden being the top of the ticket. They want to see another nominee. Other sources said that there was overwhelming support, for example, for Vice President Kamala Harris to step into that role. With others, should Biden step aside, certainly not all of them calling on him to do so. He did have a large defense, a fierce defense from members of the Congressional Black Caucus that were on the call. We're told Barbara Lee, Maxine Waters, 2 veteran lawmakers from California, they defended Biden on the call as they have done publicly. We also saw a statement from another member of the Congressional Black Caucus who was not on the call, Frederica Wilson of Florida, but she criticized some of her fellow Democratic colleagues who are taking this moment to call on Biden to step aside, saying, like many others that I've talked to, that every single minute they talk about the need to replace Biden is a minute wasted that they could be talking about Trump. Also importantly, we heard, according to sources, Susan Wild, for example, who is the Democratic ranking member on the Ethics Committee. She is a frontline Democrat, a vulnerable Democrat in Pennsylvania. She did not, according to my sources, call on Biden to step aside, but she expressed significant concern, Katie, with being able to run with Biden at the top of the ticket, with being able to campaign with him, and her own reelection prospects. As we learned, of course, Angie Craig, one of the faces on that screen coming out yesterday, also a frontline Democrat, expressing the same concern. So a lot on this call. Bottom line here, this is the first of many that I expect meetings and calls this week. And unfortunately for Biden, the overall resounding sentiment is they don't know if they can trust Biden to beat Trump in November, Katie.
Julie, we also know Senator Mark Warner of Virginia will be leading a meeting this week with Democratic senators. What can we expect from that meeting?
Yeah, a couple of sources that I spoke to who initially said that they were reached out, or their bosses were reached out by from Senator Mark Warner early last week after the debate, have told me that they have since not been in contact with Warner. So we don't know exactly what time and when this will happen. There's nothing scheduled concretely yet based on sources that I spoke to. But again, we have reported that Mark Warner, a very high ranking, he is the top Democrat, the chairman of the Intelligence Committee in the Senate. He had his own political ambitions, perhaps even the White House in the future as well. But he is somebody who, we're told, is concerned for the down ballot effects that Biden's candidacy at the top of the ticket can have on fellow Democrats. For example, his colleague Tim Kaine, who is running for re-election in Virginia as well. The bottom line here, though, is it doesn't matter if this meeting happens exactly tomorrow afternoon, tomorrow night. Senators are returning to this building, as are House members. They will get together. They will talk and huddle to determine whether Biden can lead their party. And certainly this next week is very crucial.
NBC News congressional correspondent Julie Sirkin, thanks for being here. I appreciate it. And joining me now is former Congressman and co-chair of the Biden-Harris campaign, Cedric Richmond. Congressman, it's good to have you here. First, I'd like to get your immediate reaction to the news of 4 more House Democrats that are calling for Biden to step aside.
Thanks for having me. I would reiterate what Congresswoman Frederica Wilson said, that we shouldn't be spending time talking about that. We should be spending time talking about the threat that Donald Trump poses. And she urged her colleagues to get their priorities in order. But you also had Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Lisa Blunt Rochester, all recently come out and show support for the president. So while we respect our colleagues, I would just side with what Frederica Wilson said. And we need to remind people the threat that Donald Trump poses, not just for 4 years, but for generations. Supreme Court is at risk. Women's rights are at risk. Civil rights are at risk. And I would just remind people of that.
Yeah, and for our viewers, Congressman, I do want to repeat what Frederica Wilson said, because I agree with you. I think it is important, her messaging. She said, quote, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris defeated Donald Trump in 2020, and they are the Democratic ticket that will do so again this year. Any, quote, leader calling for President Biden to drop out needs to get their priorities straight and stop undermining this incredible actual leader who has delivered real results for our country. I mean, Congressman, you've seen President Biden out on the campaign trail in Pennsylvania today. He's meeting with the voters, the people that actually make the difference in November. Here's what he had to say. Take a very quick listen, please.
While there are those who want to erase history, Kamala and I want to make it, because black history is American history. I tell you what, Dark Brandon's coming back. He's here. And guess what? The next 120-some days or so, they're going to get a real good look at who Donald Trump is. We're the most powerful country in the world. We have the best economy in the world, but now we got to make sure we start taking care of the families like Jill and I grew up.
I mean, Congressman, he looks good, sounds good, is delivering the right messaging. So despite facing these calls to step down, he's out there making his own case on the campaign trail. What's the strategy moving forward then to continue to reassure voters?
He's going to continue to be out there. He's going to hold his rallies. He will talk to voters. And notice it's the chattering class. It's the donor class. It's the elites that you hear this distraction from. But what we're going to do is focus on those people who are going to the polls in November, make sure we continue to organize, make sure we continue to talk about the historic accomplishments of the Biden-Harris team. We will continue to organize. We will continue to open field offices. We will continue to do those things that actually make you win an election. And you're going to see him and you're going to see the vice president out there making a case for why, one, they deserve to be reelected, but two, the threat that Donald Trump poses to our democracy.
You and other campaign co-chairs were on the call with the president yesterday. What was his message to all of you and for the country?
That he's energized. He understands the stakes are high. He understands that the debate was not his best performance. But also that actions speak louder than words. And so while a debate is all talk, his deeds while he's been in the White House, Ketanji Brown Jackson reducing black child poverty by 50%, reducing child poverty by 50%. Black unemployment is at an all-time low. Black entrepreneurship is at an all-time high. If you look at the economy, if you look at wealth, if you look at all of those indicators, this president has been doing a great job, deserves to be reelected. And then on the other hand, Donald Trump is talking about a tax break for the top 1% in corporations, which I want to remind your voters, your listeners, they pay for. Every time we give a tax break to the top 1% in corporations, working families in this country pay for it. President Biden wants to further reduce taxes on those who make under $400,000. And so it's a clear contrast of the values of the two men. President Biden values working people. Donald Trump has no values, zero values. He is void of values. He is morally bankrupt, and we're going to make that case.
And part of that moral bankruptcy actually tags along with this idea of Project 2025. Conveniently, Trump trying to distance himself from Project 2025, but we know that it was written for, tailor-made for Trump and a second Trump presidency. What's the Biden-Harris campaign doing to amplify the direct line, the direct through line from Project 2025 to Donald Trump?
Well, the way we know it's Donald Trump's plan is the fact that he denied it, because when his lips are moving, he's lying. And so it's a plan created for him by those people closest to him. And that plan is extreme. But it's taken out of what he says is his rallies. It would give him almost absolute power. He can go after his enemies. He can take rights of citizens away. He can get rid of civil service and put Trump people all throughout government. He wants to abolish the Department of Education. Those things should scare the American voters. We have a responsibility, and we will educate voters on what his extreme agenda is and what Project 2025 means to them.
You know, there's been some that have suggested that Vice President Kamala Harris moved to the top of the ticket, and yet she has said publicly, openly, that she supports President Biden. We've also heard other names like Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom being bandied about. But, Congressman, you and I both know they've also publicly said they support a Biden-Harris ticket. When it comes to specifically, though, Vice President Harris, do you think her campaign role needs to be even bigger during this kind of critical time for Joe Biden?
Well, we saw the night of the debate. I saw her. She was down at the Essence Festival in New Orleans talking to 30, 40,000 people down there. She is increasing her role, and she's been a valued partner since day one. I won't get into whether she's been covered fairly by the press, but she is a valuable partner. She's incredibly intelligent, and I would just say she has not only publicly stated her support for President Biden, she's privately said that, too. I was with Gavin Newsom after the debate when he did the same, and Gretchen Whitmer was on the chair's call yesterday, and she reiterated her support. Leaders are rallying around this president and vice president because they understand what's at stake and they understand what they have accomplished.
I'll also note that Congresswomen Maxine Waters and Barbara Lee from the Congressional Black Caucus have also indicated their support for President Biden and Kamala Harris for a Biden-Harris ticket. Former Congressman Cedric Richmond, I appreciate you taking the time to get us started tonight. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
And coming up, it's time to sound off with my all-star political panel. They're going to weigh in on what to expect and what will be a critical week ahead for President Biden. Plus, MAGA playbook, how Trump's allies are dancing around the dangers of Project 2025, the blueprint for his potential second term. We'll dig into all of that and more tonight on The Sunday Show.
I'm so excited. I'm finally here in the city.
Have you seen my phone?
No.
Great. Ooh, you break it, we take it. Trade in any phone in any condition guaranteed and get a new iPhone 15 with tons of storage on us.
Oh, yeah.
Only on Verizon.
Mommy, what did you love to do?
I love to be your mom. Hey, what's your name?
Looky.
This is Luke. He has cerebral palsy.
Are we going to PT?
Yes, we are. Without Easter seals, my Luke would be a very different Luke.
I'm gonna say hi.
Okay, let's say
Hi.
He wouldn't have gotten the help that he desperately needed.
Easter Seals offers important disability and community services that can change a life forever. And your monthly support is critical for these kids' future.
Luke, he has had 5 therapy sessions a week for 3.5 years. The need has not changed, and there are more families that need help.
Please join Easter Seals right now. Go online, call, or scan the QR code with your gift of just $19 a month.
Luke is a fighter. From the day he was born to his time in the NICU to Luke's first time walking. Now I'm gonna cry.
You work so hard. I'm so proud of you.
I worked so hard.
You did.
You know, just to reach into your heart and see what your donation can do for these kids.
Please visit helpeasterseals.com. Call or scan the QR code on your screen with your gift of $19 a month. And we'll send you this t-shirt as a thank you.
You don't know what the future has, and it's very scary. You have changed the trajectory of my son's life. As a mom, I can't even explain how much that means to me.
Please join Easter Seals with your monthly gift right now.
I got this KitchenAid stand mixer for only $56.
DealDash.com. Online auctions since 2009. This PlayStation 5 sold for only 50 cents. This iPad Pro sold for less than $34. Go to DealDash.com and see how much you can save.
Hey folks, Chris Coonihan here with Leaf Filter, America's largest gutter and gutter protection company. Leaf Filter has over 150 locations and has been installed on over 1 million homes. We've been protecting homes now for over 20 years. Our patented technology offers total protection for your home and comes with a lifetime transferable warranty. The process is simple. Give us a call to schedule your free gutter inspection. If you decide to move forward with the project, you put nothing down at all. 833 Leaf Filter or visit leaffilter.com today.
In just 1 year, I had over $900 in banking fees. I had enough. I switched to Chime. There's no overdraft fees, no monthly fees. I'm saving hundreds for my daughter's future. For a normal guy like me, I've given myself a small raise. Join me at Chime.com.
Saturday, September 7th, it's MSNBC Live Democracy 2024, our premier live audience event with your favorite MSNBC hosts. Visit msnbc.com/democracy 2024 to buy your tickets. Introducing MSNBC Premium on Apple Podcasts. Get early access and ad-free listening to Rachel Maddow's chart-topping original podcasts, exclusive bonus content, and new episodes of The Rachel Maddow Show and Morning Show ad-free. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts.
There is only one person in this room that kicked Trump's ass in an election. There is only one person in this state that has kicked Trump's ass in an election. There is only one person in the country that's ever kicked Trump's ass in an election, and that is your president.
That was Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman on the campaign trail in Philadelphia with President Biden today, amid new reporting that 4 more House Democrats are calling for Biden to step aside, bringing the total now to 9. Joining me now on my Sound Off panel tonight, Eugene Daniels, MSNBC political contributor, Politico White House correspondent, and Playbook co-author, Jennifer Horn, co-founder of the Lincoln Project and host of the Is It Just Me or Have We All Lost Our Minds? I can answer that as a yes, Jennifer podcast. And Basil Smikle Jr., MSNBC political analyst, professor of practice at Columbia University, and a Democratic strategist. My thanks to the three of you. What an amazing panel we got going on here. Eugene, I'm going to start with you. I'm going to play some sound today from Lindsey Graham on CBS's Face the Nation and ask you a question on the other side.
If Biden steps down, Harris is going to have to pick somebody to help her. If she does become the nominee, this is a dramatically different race than it is right now today. I hope people are thinking about that on our side.
I mean, Eugene, let's be clear. I'm still a Biden-Harris ticket proponent and supporter. That is unquestionable. But I do find it to be interesting that Lindsey Graham posited that, saying that he hopes that the party's paying attention. Let's be frank, it's not going to happen. But Kamala Harris really would give the Republicans a run for the money, wouldn't they?
I mean, at the very least, it changes the entire dynamics of the race, right? You could see that as just over the last few days, you've seen more, not just Republicans going after her, not just the Trump campaign going after her, but also right-wing media going after her. That's not new, right? But every once in a while, there's a lull. And a reason that it starts back up is because something happens, and this is that something. They're starting to realize there could be something happening within the Democratic Party that could change the 2024 election for them. I mean, at the very least, it takes away what has been their core message for 1.5 years, 2 years almost, which is that the Biden-Harris ticket is just too old, right? If it's a Harris and someone else ticket, that's completely gone, and the Republican Party immediately becomes the party led by an elderly man, the only party led by an elderly man going into the 2024 election. There are all these reasons why she'd be attacked, right? A Black woman, a woman. There have been critiques of the way that she's operated moving up until this point, whether or not she is always sure in her own policy propositions. But her team feels like they changed a lot of that over the last 1.5 years, that they have shown, and I think we've seen over the last few days, a new Kamala Harris that they're trying to introduce. So there are Republicans that are quite nervous about the possibility.
You know, Jennifer, to Eugene's point, though, you could have the experience and the gravitas from Joe Biden and the youth and the experience from Kamala Harris. And that could actually be the hybrid ticket that's shown that it can win in 2020 and can repeat it in 2024, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it would probably be very much to the Democrats' benefit if they were highlighting Kamala Harris, not just her accomplishments so far, but get her out on the campaign trail and in front of the voters more than they already are. I would also suggest that they could be doing a lot more to create a contrast between the Biden-Harris ticket and whoever ends up on the ticket with Donald Trump. We have to remember that regardless of Biden and Harris, they're running against a narcissistic, mentally unstable, insurrectionist, racist old white guy. And they've got a real contrast they could be making that I think they could be going further on than they have.
Yeah, so Basil, there is really good sound from J.D. Vance today. We're going to play that for you now. It's from NBC's Meet the Press, and it dovetails with this idea that Donald Trump is trying to very much distance himself from Project 2025, despite it being tailor-made for him. Take a listen.
What the media and the Democrats are trying to do is attach its most unpopular elements to the Trump administration. It's a 900-page document. I guarantee there are things that Trump likes and dislikes about that 900-page document, but he is the person who will determine the agenda of the next administration. All he said very explicitly is, I am in charge of the next administration because I'm the person running for president.
Okay, so let's be clear. J.D. Vance is always auditioning for the VP seat, Basil, 1. But 2, there is nothing in that 900-page document of Project 2025 that is good. So the fact that Donald Trump even likes a little bit of it is a huge red flag for America. But your thoughts about the fact that now we have Trump surrogates in the form of J.D. Vance also trying to distance Donald Trump from Project 2025?
Well, it's a couple of things. One, there's tape of Donald Trump standing in front of a Heritage Foundation step and repeat at a podium. So, why go speak on somebody's platform if you don't approve of the platform? So, yeah, that's just foolishness. As my Jamaican grandmother would say, pure foolishness. And look, it's one of the things that I think has upset me about this entire period where there's this public hand-wringing about whether Joe Biden should or should not be in the race is that you haven't heard a lot from Donald Trump except this denial, which means that he's just sitting back watching, what's happening on the Democratic side when we could be out there talking about what's in that document, Project 2025, the fact that it is an agency by agency, I wouldn't even call it a platform. It's an instruction manual for Donald Trump, should he get into office, for how he can change government in 180 days. And I always want to be clear about that. This is not a 10 or 20-year plan. This is a 180-day plan for the moment he steps into office, if he would ever do that. So the dangers of it, the concerns about it, how much our lives would drastically change in 6 months from now, I think is something that Democrats should continue to harp on, even as they're going through these internal issues, to be able to continue to draw that contrast with Donald Trump and have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, especially Kamala Harris, talking about that, because she speaks to a kind of intersectionality on race and gender that I do think energizes a lot of folks.
Eugene, I want to go to you right now and ask you this. Why is it then that the media isn't asking Donald Trump about Project 2025? And let's get rid of the name Project 2025 and make it even dumb it down for Donald Trump right now. Asking him about specific policies and plans that are within that document, that blueprint, because we know that he said that at his rallies and his campaign speeches. So why is the media not flipping the script and asking Donald Trump about those specifics?
I think part of it is that Donald Trump is not very interested in policy, right? When you talk to Donald Trump about policy, he often waffles, right? He doesn't give you a clear answer. You can look at his answers on abortion. More importantly, you can look at his answers on contraception, right? Where he said, yeah, we'll look at getting rid of contraception, which is not actually something that his campaign had ever said, and then they had to bring it back. I think there are people asking him what a second term would actually look like, what he would actually do. But what we hear often from his aides and allies is that you hear it in his speeches, right? He's going to go after immigration, and he's going to do some vindictiveness, right? Those are the kinds of things that folks are going to see. I think what's really interesting with Project 2025 and the folks that have helped to create it is that there's an opening here that probably has never happened with another presidential candidate, which is that because he doesn't care so much about the minutia of policy, then they have an opportunity to actually kind of do whatever they want, right? He'll say the yes or no at the end of the day, but the kind of this 900-something page document, there's a lot of stuff in there that could happen without a president's approval.
Well, yeah, listen, that thing is his. He owns it. You break it, you buy it. He's more than broken it, and he's going to want to do it. We're going to have much more with our Sound Off panel after the break, including Senator Marco Rubio dismissing fears that Donald Trump will go after his political enemies if he wins in November. Stay with us.
I remember seeing St. Jude commercials on TV and wondering, like, is that place legit? Like, those commercials are nice, but is that like a real thing? And having lived it, I can say for sure that that money is being put to incredible use. I've never once had to wait for insurance to approve a test or approve a medication. We didn't have to worry about any of those things thanks to the donations. And our family is forever grateful because it's completely changed our lives.
I'm Richard Karn, and I love my hose. My hose is lightweight. Oh, no. My hose will not kink. Come on. And my hose is anti-leak. It ain't those old hoses. This is my hose. The new Pocket Hose Copper Bullet, now infused with real copper, so your water is always clean and lead-free. Just turn on the water and watch your hose grow and grow to a full-size 3/4-inch hose. It stretches and expands like a rubber band. And when you turn off the water, away it goes, shrinking and squeezing that water out until it's practically bone dry. And that makes it easy to carry and put away. Our new inner tube uses 3 layers of high-strength latex on the inside. Then it's wrapped in a new polymer filament jacket, similar to the technology used in forest fire hoses because it's light and tough. 3 times stronger than the other hoses. It's guaranteed for 10 years. Nearly impossible to tear or snag. And the redesigned connector protector helps stop leaks at the spigot. But my favorite part of our new hose build, the oversized, easy-to-grip fittings. Easy on and off, even with gloves. With more than 100 patents worldwide, it's the best pocket hose in the world. Get the super light 25-foot pocket hose Copper Bullet today for only $29.99. But wait, call now and get our copper spray nozzle with our exclusive thumb drive free. Simply use your thumb to turn off and on. And with 10 unique patterns, you'll have a setting for every job. It's a $30 value, yours free with every 50-foot Copper Bullet. But it's not available in stores. This is an exclusive release of our newest pocket hose. There is a strict limit of 3 per order, so don't wait. Order now.
To order, call 1-800-377-3152 or visit copperbullet.hose.com. So call 1-800-377-3152 or visit copperbullet.hose.com. Order now.
You know, there's this thing called age, and it sucks.
If you're over 50, imagine you could turn back the clock on your stiff, achy joints by years. Introducing InstaFlex Advanced.
It's restored my joints without just temporarily masking my symptoms. When you can find a product that can take that away to the point that you can live your life again, that is a miracle to me.
Get a complimentary sample by texting SECRET to 231231. InstaFlex Advanced targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness with a unique combination of 5 key natural ingredients. Key ingredients backed by 5 clinical studies.
I love this product. I'm telling you, it works.
InstaFlex Advanced is the #1 selling joint brand at GNC, but you can only get your complimentary sample by texting SECRET to 231231. Plus, text now, and we'll include a tube of InstaFlex pain cream for fast-acting relief absolutely free. Text SECRET to 231231 today.
Choose Advil Liquid Gels for faster, stronger, and longer-lasting relief than Tylenol Rapid Release Gels. Because Advil targets pain at the source of inflammation. So for faster pain relief, Advil, the pain away.
Take a pea-sized amount, apply it like a lotion. Pits, under boob, thigh folds, butt cracks, feet. This water-based cream, I'm telling you, it's invisible on the skin. It works like a dream. Why didn't someone think of this sooner?
I will appoint a real special prosecutor to go after the most corrupt president in the history of the United States of America, Joe Biden, and the entire Biden crime family.
Back with me, Eugene Daniels, Jennifer Horn, and Basil Smikle Jr. Jennifer, I want to go to you with not that sound, but actually some sound from Marco Rubio today, another vice president auditionee on CNN's State of the Union. Take a listen.
It's funny to me to read these people and hear these people out there warning about all the horrible things they ridiculously claim Donald Trump is going to do if he becomes president. Donald Trump has been the one that's been very clear that his vengeance is going to be by winning and making America great again, not going after his political opponents.
Oh, I'm sorry. In the law, we call that impeachment. Marco Rubio being impeached by Donald Trump's own words. So the gaslighting's very real, Jennifer, and thank gosh we have our own eyes and ears to be able to hear what's going on. But again, I kind of sense there's this backpedaling that's happening by Trump surrogates these days to make Trump seem a little bit less of a threat.
Well, because they know very much how dangerous he can be, and that the clearer that becomes to voters, the less likely it is that he's going to win. Somebody like Marco Rubio, who was supposed to be this voice for freedom and democracy when he ran for president in 2016, to see him defending Donald Trump and trying to promote Donald Trump in the manner that he does is one of the most despicable things I think I've ever witnessed in politics. It's pathetic, frankly. J.D. Vance is like a gnat, more than anything else. He's just this annoying, buzzing little bug. But Marco Rubio actually brings some credibility, and in the past has brought dignity and integrity to his actions as a United States Senator. He's completely lost it. He has bent the knee as surely as anybody else has before Donald Trump. And what he is doing and what others like him are doing is incredibly dangerous, not just for the presidency, but for democracy as we know it in America. And for people like myself, frankly, who used to be a Republican and believed in the principles that I thought Republicans embraced, to see somebody like Marco Rubio that I had genuine respect for behave the way that he does now, it genuinely disgusts me, but it frightens me for the future of our country as well.
So, what's also dangerous, Basil, is the following. You've got Mark Robinson, Republican candidate for North Carolina governor, saying the following to people.
Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of vengeance. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity. We have wicked people doing wicked things, torturing and murdering and raping. It's time to call out those guys in green and go have them handled.
I mean, that's a cross in the back behind that man. That's a church. And Basil, he's saying that and nobody's condemning him in the Republican Party for saying that?
The first thing I thought is, based on his skin color, there were people that said exactly the same thing about him at some point in our history. And, for him to get on that platform in front of at a church with a cross behind him, to be able to say that and make that part of his platform, essentially, it tells you everything you need to know about this Republican Party. And to Jennifer's point, look at what that party has done. I don't know who he was earlier in his life and career, but look at what the Republican Party of today makes people say, gets them to say, and look at the platforms in which they're saying it. And that's why I will circle back to Eugene's point from earlier. One of the things that's so dangerous about what the Project 2025 does is it lends, to Jennifer's word, credibility from an academic standpoint. The business leaders who are supporting Trump are going to fund everything that needs to happen in those 900 pages. And then you're going to have people like him, like Marco Rubio and others, use their platforms to be able to lend credibility to the language that's in that document and to a whole lot more that's just sad and despicable and dangerous for the American people. Again, this is why these last few days we should have been talking about this and not what is happening within the Democratic Party. But thankfully, there's always opportunity for a reset.
And that's what we do here. Eugene Daniels, Jennifer Horn, and Basil Smikle Jr., thank you so much for joining me on your Sunday evening. I very much appreciate you, as I know the viewers do as well. Thanks. And after the break, lessons from Watergate, how the Supreme Court's recent ruling on presidential immunity ignores the history of the scandal that forced Richard Nixon to resign. Former Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman joins me next to explain.
What will you do when the power goes out? Power outages can be unpredictable and inconvenient, but with a Generac home standby generator, your life goes on uninterrupted, because when your Generac detects a power outage, it automatically powers up, giving your family the security and peace of mind they deserve.
We don't have to worry about whether we lose power or not. If the utility company does not come through, our Generac does.
After the hurricane happened, we just want to be prepared for anything.
8 out of 10 home generators are Generac, with thousands of satisfied customers.
The number one thing to prepare for is extended power outages. Don't make it so hard on yourself. Have a Generac home standby generator.
And owning a generator is easier than ever. Special financing and low monthly payment options are available. And if you call now, you will also receive a free 5-year warranty valued at over $500. Call or go online now to request your free quote.
Those things in Belfast? Bit mad?
Get out of my house!
Yeah, bit mad.
Take a breath of fresh air with a Stanley Steamer air duct cleaning. We clean over 10 million feet of air ducts each year with our specialized trucks, built by us, removing the contaminants from your home. Your air ducts aren't clean until they're Stanley Steamer clean.
It's your home cleaner.
When you're cooking on a Blackstone, you get a better cooking experience. Cook anything, anytime, anywhere. Go to your nearest Blackstone retailer or blackstoneproducts.com now and make everything better on a Blackstone.
20 seconds a week to lose 20% of your weight in a year with diet and exercise. That's the power of GLP-1s through Ro. Connect with the provider today at ro.co/20.
With bugs, the struggle is real. That's why you need Zevo traps. Zevo works 24/7 to attract and trap flying insects for effortless protection. Zevo, people-friendly, bug-deadly.
Sleep more deeply and wake up rejuvenated. Purple Mattress's exclusive Gel Flex Grid draws away heat, relieves pressure, and instantly adapts. Sleep better. Live Purple. Right now, save up to $800 off mattress sets at Purple. Visit purple.com or a store near you today.
Is your car's plastic trim faded and milky? Don't worry. Cerakote's ceramic trim coat restores oxidized trim effortlessly. Just wipe it on. It's guaranteed for 200 washes. Even dust won't stick to it. Keep your car looking professional. Selling your oxidized, faded trim car? Detailed cars sell for way more than faded cars. Read the thousands of 5-star reviews for yourself. Buy any of Cerakote's #1 selling ceramic products for under $20 at these leading retailers today.
Well, when the president does it, that means that it is not illegal. By definition. Exactly.
5 decades ago, Richard Nixon's definition of presidential power was just his wishful thinking. But today's Supreme Court has turned it into a reality, giving the next president absolute criminal immunity for so-called official acts. Nixon's crimes during the Watergate scandal, leading to his resignation and eventual pardon by Gerald Ford, reminds us of the worst that could happen. For example, murdering a political rival was not a hypothetical for Richard Nixon, according to our next guest. Former Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman writes that Nixon ordered a hit on Pentagon Papers whistleblower Daniel Ellsberg. Ackerman also points out that one of the reasons Nixon was forced to step down was the release of a recording of him trying to interfere in the FBI's Watergate probe, a clear case of obstruction of justice. But under the new Supreme Court decision, Ackerman writes, quote, there would have been no reason for him to resign. Nixon could have just picked up the phone and directed the FBI to terminate its investigation. Joining me now is former Watergate prosecutor Nick Ackerman. He also served as an assistant United States attorney for the Southern District of New York. Nick, thanks so much for being here. Your new piece, The Supreme Court Rewrites Watergate History, 50 years since Nixon's resignation, immunity decision would have undone prosecutions, is fantastic. I urge everybody to go out and read it. But the thing that just struck me and shook me was the fact that Nixon ordered a hit on Ellsberg, which I was unaware of. But to your point, now, with this SCOTUS decision, you can't inquire into motive, and you certainly can't inquire if it was an official act of Nixon picking up the phone and ordering a hit on a political rival. Same thing could happen now with any president.
Of course. I mean, that's the whole problem with this opinion. Justice Roberts tries to pawn it off as some kind of fantastic idea that Justice Sotomayor is coming up with, talking about Navy SEAL 6 going out and attacking and assassinating political rivals at the direction of the president. This is not so fantastic, and it's not so unusual. This is exactly what Richard Nixon did. Justices totally ignored this entire history of Watergate in coming up with this crazy opinion that permits somebody like Donald Trump, who has already come up with a plan where he says he's going to be dictator from day one, and he's going to suspend the Constitution, and has already violated a number of federal criminal laws. So this is basically opening up the floodgates to Donald Trump to do whatever he wants, and full steam ahead, which is really frightening.
Nick, something else that you wrote that really struck me as well was this idea that if a president like Trump gets absolute criminal immunity for his official acts, then by extension, it would make sense that subordinates that are following orders from Donald Trump, for example, to do criminal acts would also not be prosecuted because they're just, quote, following directions, instructions, or orders. Nick, we saw that happen with Hitler. We saw that happen in Germany. So
that's right.
What is this theory, I guess, by extension, that subordinates of a president like Donald Trump following his orders, acting criminally, they could not be prosecuted as well?
Well, the rationale throughout this opinion is that you can't really get behind the president's motive and what he's doing. And if he's got people, the executive branch, it's the executive branch, the president, that the Supreme Court is focused on. And if, in fact, it's the executive branch and Trump is ordering one of his subordinates to obstruct justice or to carry out a hit or to do whatever might be illegal, and if the president is ordering it and that's an official act and that can't be illegal, then how can you really prosecute somebody who is an arm of the executive branch who's carrying out that order? I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. Where does it stop? I just don't see how someone wouldn't have that defense.
And, you know, Nick, something that I was thinking about when I read your piece was the following, which is, when everything was going on with Trump post-November 2020, leading up to January 6th, he had to, by necessity, go outside of the DOJ because there were people that actually maintained the guardrails at the Department of Justice to not participate. I mean, I'll exclude Jeff Clark, the oil spill lawyer. But other than Jeff Clark, there were people that had enough sanity to say, no, this is not going to happen at the DOJ. So he went to the John Eastmans of the world, and others, Kenneth Chesbro again. How important is it, somebody like you who knows the historical importance and context of Watergate, now looking at it through the lens of this SCOTUS decision, to make sure that the DOJ has people in an administration with a president that have the courage and the moral compass to say no and to not actually participate in criminal conduct with the president?
It's extremely important. I mean, in fact, this did happen in Watergate. If you recall, there was a Saturday night massacre. Elliot Richardson, who was the attorney general, was fired by Nixon. Then the deputy attorney general, Ruckelshaus, was fired. And that left Robert Bork. And both Richardson and Ruckelshaus prevailed upon Bork to stay in there and not resign and do what Nixon asked, which was to fire Archibald Cox, because they were both afraid, all three of them were afraid, that Nixon would then put one of his cronies in charge of that Department of Justice and all hell would break loose. So that's happened back then. It happened under Trump, and it's going to happen again if Trump gets elected.
Unless we don't get Trump in office, but we know that Project 2025, it has an actual chapter on the Department of Justice and the installation of loyalists in the Department of Justice. And so, Nick, it would be a disaster of epic proportions if somebody like Trump is back in office with a blueprint like Project 2025 for the DOJ.
No question about it. I mean, he's first of all going to get rid of all of these civil servants. I mean, he's basically going to eviscerate the entire civil service at the Department of Justice. Those are the people that are the bulwark of our Justice Department that would stand up to somebody like Trump. But number one plan is to get rid of them. This is a plan that is all being directed by Donald Trump and Viktor Orban, the president of Hungary, who has basically set up the same system in Hungary such that it still exists as somewhat of a democratically elected country, except that they've rigged the entire system so that it's gerrymandered and that there is no way that Orban can ever be defeated. And it's the same thing that Donald Trump wants to do, to be dictator from day one and suspend our Constitution and do it sub rosa the same way Viktor Orban has done it in Hungary.
Orban, Putin, multiple terms, never going to get rid of Donald Trump. Nick Ackerman, thank you so much. I urge everybody, please go out and read Nick's new piece because it is amazing. Nick, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Coming up, undervalued, the consequences of the significant pay gap that black women have faced for decades and what needs to happen for that gap to be closed. Galen Burroughs of the National Women's Law Center joins me next. You're watching The Sunday Show here on MSNBC.
I'm so excited. I'm finally here in the city.
Have you seen my phone?
No.
Ooh, you break it, we take it. Trade in any phone in any condition guaranteed and get a new iPhone 15 with tons of storage on us.
Oh, yeah.
Only on Verizon.
You know, if you were cash back and you could earn on everything with just one card, Chase Freedom Unlimited. So if you're off the racking or crab cracking, you're cash backing. Cash back on flapjacks, baby backs, or tacos at the Taco Shack.
Nah, I'm working on my six-pack.
Switch to a King Suite.
Or book a silent retreat.
Silent retreat? Oh, hold up. Yeah, I can't talk right now. I'm at a silent retreat. Cash back on everything you buy with Chase Freedom Unlimited with no annual fee. How do you cash back? Chase, make more of what's yours.
In our family, there was a passion for glass making that's passed down through the generations.
We stood on some pretty broad shoulders to get to where we're at today.
On Ancestry, I was able to actually put together our family tree. Each person is a glass worker.
That's why we do what we do. We can't help it. The glass blowing, that's a part of our DNA.
It's in my blood, it's in my history. It's my job to make sure that this shop makes it to the next generation.
What I'm about to share is something we don't talk about often enough, so I'm just gonna say it. We apply deodorant to our armpits every day. It's a part of the routine, right? So why do we put up with odors on other parts of our body between showers? It's time you discovered Lumi Whole Body Deodorant for pits, privates, and beyond. I tried it and I noticed a difference right away, everywhere. You won't realize the body odor you've just been living with until you try Lumi and it's gone. Give Lumi Whole Body Deodorant a try and start controlling your body odor better, everywhere.
Let it rain, Randy! Yeah! That's how you make like it never even happened happen.
Serve Pro.
The cockroach. Resilient creatures. True miracles of evolution. Where there is one,
others aren't far behind. Always scavenging for food, the cockroach will...
Well, that's horrifying.
Near its favorite...
Ortho Home Defense Max Indoor Insect Barrier. One application kills and prevents bugs for 365 days.
Not in my house, you don't.
Nature's wild. Your home doesn't have to be.
Why use 10 buckets of water when you can use one fire extinguisher? And to fight heartburn, why take 10 antacids throughout the day when you can take one Prilosec? For easier heartburn relief, 1 beats 10. Prilosec OTC. 1 pill, 24 hours, 0 heartburn.
If you're in pain but need to stay mobile, you need CopperFit Rapid Relief, the revolutionary line of hot and cold therapy wraps that keep you mobile while you recover, no matter where it hurts. A breakthrough adjustable design with a soft gel pack insert in a lightweight copper-infused wrap for targeted hot or cold pain-relieving therapy of sore muscles and achy joints. If it hurts, CopperFit's got you covered. Get the full line of CopperFit Rapid Relief wraps, available at Walmart pharmacies.
This Tuesday is Black Women's Equal Pay Day. But according to new analysis by the National Women's Law Center, Black women still only get 60 to 79 cents for every dollar paid to white men. The wage gap adds up to a striking annual loss of more than $22,000, or more than $800,000 lost over the course of a 40-year-long career. Black women have worked hard to get to where they are, but 60 years after the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, advocates, including my next guest, say more needs to be done to address the racism, sexism, and persistent wage gap Black women still face today. Joining me now is Galen Burrows, the Vice President for Education and Workplace Justice at the National Women's Law Center. Galen, thank you so much for joining me. I just mentioned that new study from your organization. What else did you find, and why is there still such a great disparity?
So there are many reasons for the pay gap, but I think at its core, the pay gap exists because we undervalue the work that women do, and especially the work that Black women do. So Black women are overrepresented in low-paid jobs, jobs that provide the backbone of our economy, like childcare work and home health care work. But they struggle to make ends meet, and they struggle to go into higher paying jobs. And even when they're in higher paying jobs, the pay gap still exists and actually grows. The data also shows that what our moms told us has always been true, that as Black girls, we have to work twice as hard in order to get almost half as far. So what we see through this education is that you can't educate your way out of the pay gap. For a woman, a Black woman with a professional degree, they are still making 60% of what a white non-Hispanic man with a professional degree makes. That means women doctors, women lawyers are still making 60 cents on the dollar to what a white non-Hispanic man earns. It's devastating, especially considering that Black women carry the lion's share of student loan debt. So the cost of obtaining these degrees is higher, but also Black women aren't able to reap the full reward of their investment in their education.
So this wage gap we're talking about, it's not just an everyday life issue. It creates a gap in savings. Talk a little bit more about this negative ripple effect that we see.
The pay gap affects Black women throughout their lives. So if you're making less money, you have less money to save, you have less money in retirement. But also for women who are on the lower end of the scale, it can be devastating. You don't have the money in order to save to be able to stop working at all. A colleague was just telling me about a 75-year-old Black woman in DC. She has been working since she was 16 years old, working 2 to 3 jobs at a time. She still is working as a part-time bartender to make ends meet. She says that she hopes that she is able to be in good health because she is going to have to work until she drops. That's how she phrases it. There's no money for retirement. There's no savings. That has a huge ripple effect on the family as well, since usually it's Black women taking care of older Black relatives and also experiencing a pay gap themselves.
So I've got less than a minute, but I obviously want to know, what are the solutions
Spray nozzle free. Hurry. Order now.
This summer, we're in a race against time as temperatures rise. Abused and neglected animals across the country are suffering right now in the unbearable, scorching heat. They're thirsty and panting, chained outside with no water, and many are desperately trying to hang on for just one more day.
Extreme heat can have a major impact on animals, and we see that all the time. You know, without shade, to be without shelter, without adequate water, and basically just left out there dealing with the baking sun all day.
Will you come forward to help save an animal in distress today? Visit joinaspca.org. Call this toll-free number or scan the code on your screen to be counted for this life-saving appeal. Donate now, and with your gift of just $19 a month, you can help save an animal's life this summer. Go online, call, or scan now. It's just 63 cents a day. We will put your gift to work right away, rescuing animals who might not survive if we don't get to them soon. But the situation is urgent, and tomorrow could be too late for an animal who is suffering in the sweltering heat right now.
In my mind, 1 more hour is not acceptable. Right? These animals have suffered enough.
If there ever was a time, this is it. So if you sign up in the next 10 minutes, we'll send you this free welcome kit, including this beautiful t-shirt, for taking action right away to save an animal's life this summer. We're in a race against time to reach vulnerable animals who are barely hanging on. Help rescue an animal today. Go online, call, or scan right now.
You know, there's this thing called age, and it sucks.
If you're over 50, imagine you could turn back the clock on your stiff, achy joints by years. Introducing InstaFlex Advanced.
It's restored my joints without just temporarily masking my symptoms. When you can find a product that can take that away to the point that you can live your life again, that is a miracle to me.
Get a complimentary sample by texting SECRET to 231231. InstaFlex Advanced targets the root cause of joint soreness and stiffness with a unique combination of 5 key natural ingredients. Key ingredients backed by 5 clinical studies.
I love this product. I'm telling you, it works.
InstaFlex Advanced is the #1 selling joint brand at GNC, but you can only get your complimentary sample by texting SECRET to 231231. Plus, text now, and we'll include a tube of InstaFlex pain cream for fast-acting relief absolutely free. Text SECRET to 231231 today.
Thanks for joining us today. I'm Katie Fang. Jonathan Capehart will be back here next Saturday and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Follow the show on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Threads using the handle @WeekendCapehart, and catch clips of the show on YouTube. But don't go anywhere. Ayman Moyaldeen is up next.
Good evening. Tonight on Ayman, why this week could truly be do or die for the president and his party. Is it time for President Joe to go? Also tonight, the right went after abortion rights, and state by state, day by day, the people are taking their power back. You're going to hear also from a Palestinian American who resigned his military post in protest of the Israel-Hamas war. His reasoning more personal than most. I'm Ayman Moyaldeen. Let's do it. Democrats are facing an unavoidable consequence. Time is running out for President Biden and his party to change course.
This issue has to be settled this week.
This has to be settled in the next week. Right. This can't go on any longer.
How long can Democrats afford to be continuing to have this discussion?
I say just a couple of weeks.
And even some of Biden's top supporters in Congress, like Senator Chris Murphy and Congressman Adam Schiff, are saying Biden needs to make his case to voters now, this week, or else making a tough decision.